You ever sit back and ask yourself, why the hell did they do that to me? I mean, really sit back. Lights off. Silence loud as hell. Mind spinning like a broken carousel. And wonder why people you'd give your last breath to would drown you just to stay afloat. You bled for them. You swallowed your pride, your time, your energy. You picked them up when they were broken, and when it was your turn, they vanished like ghosts, like cowards. And you know the worst part? It ain't even that they left. It's that they smiled in your face while planning your funeral behind your back. That's the real pain. That's betrayal. And that ain't some movie scene or dramatic fantasy. That's life. That's real. That's people. See, they don't destroy you when you're weak. They do it after you show them your strength, after you prove your loyalty, after you give everything thinking they'd never spit in your face. But they do, every damn time. Why? 'Cause loyalty is dangerous when it comes from someone rare. They get scared of what they can't control. They see your loyalty as a weapon you could use, not a gift you chose to give. And once they realize you ain't weak, once they realize you ain't like the rest of them sheep, they get scared. And fear? Fear makes people do cowardly things, like backstabbing, like ghosting, like painting you as the villain just to cover up their guilt. But here's the twist, kid. Maybe being the villain ain't so bad. Maybe that version of you they feared, that version that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't break, maybe that's who you were meant to be all along. Maybe their betrayal was just a push, a wake-up call, a slap across the face from fate itself saying, stop crawling, start building fire. You gave them softness, and they mistook it for weakness. You gave them silence, and they mistook it for submission. You gave them your back so they could rest, and they stabbed it. So now what? Huh? You gonna cry over broken loyalty? You gonna keep waiting for an apology from people who sleep peacefully knowing they tore you apart? Or are you finally gonna burn the version of you that loved them too much to walk away and become the one who never lets it happen again? You ain't wrong for changing. You ain't evil for becoming cold. You ain't the villain for finally saying enough. You are the result of what they built. They gave you the blueprint. Now be the damn masterpiece. Let me tell you something dark, something real. When people can't use you anymore, they act like you changed. They act like you went cold, like you turned your back. But truth is, you just stopped giving without return. You started noticing the patterns, the silence, the way they only showed up when they needed you. And when they saw you weren't going to be their emotional punching bag, their fixer, their savior, they panicked. So they flipped the script, made you the bad guy in their story so they could live guilt-free. And here's where it gets twisted. Some of them even start warning others about you. Watch out for him, he's changed. Damn right he changed. Pain does that. Betrayal does that. You cracked open a loyal soul, and now you got a storm. You poked a lion thinking it was a lapdog, and now you're mad it roars. Please, these people didn't love you. They loved what you could do for them. They didn't respect you. They tolerated you as long as you stayed beneath them. The second you rose, you became a threat. And now they're scared. Let them be scared. Be the villain they created. Be the silence they can't read. Be the calm they fear before the storm hits, and don't explain a damn thing. Real ones don't need words. They'll see it in your absence. They'll hear it in the silence you used to fill. And they'll feel it in the guilt they buried under fake smiles. So stop mourning, stop waiting, stop hoping they'll understand. They understood exactly what they were doing. You were just too loyal to believe it. You ever notice how they only remember you when they need something? Yeah, that late night text, that fake check-in, that sudden I miss you out of nowhere. But where were they when you needed something? When your world was falling apart, when your heart was ripped open, when you had no one to talk to, and they were out there laughing, living, and pretending like you never existed? That ain't love. That ain't friendship. That ain't real. That's usage. And they used you because you made it easy. You made it comfortable. You were always there, weren't you? Always picking up, always replying, always saying yes, even when your soul was screaming no. And they knew it. Don't think for a second they didn't know. They knew exactly what they were doing. They just didn't think you'd wake up. They didn't think you'd snap. But now they see you ain't picking up. You ain't replying. You ain't playing their little game anymore. And it's messing with their heads. Good. Let it. Let it drive them crazy. Let it burn their conscience. Let them wonder who you became when you stopped dancing to their tune. You were never too much. You were never the problem. You were just giving your all to people who weren't even giving you half. See, this world don't reward the loyal. It uses them. It eats them alive, and then plays the victim. That's the game. People want angels until angels start speaking with fire. They want hearts until hearts say, no more. You gave them peace, and they brought war. So now you gotta give them war with silence, with distance, with growth. Don't scream, don't beg, don't explain. Become so unrecognizable, they have to look twice. Become so untouchable that their fake apologies bounce off you like dust in the wind. That's how you win. That's how villains are born, not out of hate, but out of survival, out of pain, out of repeated betrayal, out of scars they thought would break you, but instead made you colder, sharper, smarter. That's what you are now, a weapon. A product of every lie they told you, every promise they broke, every moment you sat alone wondering why love felt like punishment, And don't you dare feel guilty for that transformation. That ain't on you. That's them. They wrote the script. You just finally learned how to play your role. You ain't heartless. You just stopped letting them kill you slowly with their half love and fake loyalty. Let me break it to you raw. Some people only keep you around so they can feel better about themselves. You're the proof they're not completely messed up. You're the one who forgives, the one who understands, the one who stays. And they use that. They bank on that. They treat you like a doormat, then act surprised when you stop opening the door. But you ain't soft no more. That chapter is closed. That version of you that waited, hoped, believed, buried 6 feet under. And in its place, something they can't control, something they can't read, something that smiles less and sees more. And let me tell you, there's power in that. There's power in letting go, in walking away without looking back, in not needing closure, because the silence you give them is the closure. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain your absence. Let your peace be their punishment. Let your distance be their regret. You ain't the villain. You're just the mirror they can't look at without seeing their own demons. And that's why they hate you now. That's why they talk about you. That's why they twist the story. 'Cause the truth is loud in your silence. And they can't escape it. You want to know why they started calling you cold? It ain't 'cause you became a monster. It's 'cause you stopped being their puppet. That's the real reason. You stopped picking up when they needed comfort, but gave you none. You stopped showing up to their fake support parties, where everyone claps for their lies, but no one hears your screams. You stopped carrying their problems like they were yours, while they left you to bleed alone. And the second you did that, the second you chose yourself, they called you distant, heartless, changed. But they don't talk about the nights you couldn't sleep because of them. They don't talk about the way you sat there, thinking maybe you were the one in the wrong. They don't talk about the guilt you dragged around like chains for caring too much about people who wouldn't even flinch if they saw you broken. You broke for them, and they stepped right over the pieces. So now that you're back on your feet, different, darker, wiser, they can't handle it. 'Cause now you're not begging, you're not reaching, you're not available, and that scares the hell out of them. You took your power back. You took your love, your loyalty, your attention, and they're starving without it. Good. Let them starve. Let them choke on the silence they forced you into. People don't realize what they've done until it's too late. And even then, most of them don't feel regret. They feel discomfort. Not because they miss you, but because they lost control. See, loyalty isn't something you can just replace. It ain't a subscription. It ain't a trend. It's rare. It's pure. And once you lose someone loyal, really loyal, you don't get that back. Not ever. And when that realization finally hits them, It's not sadness they feel. It's panic. It's desperation. That itch in their chest that says, damn, I really messed up. But by then, it's too late. Because the version of you that was soft for them no longer exists. That version died when you realized they were never clapping for you, just clapping for themselves while standing on your back. They loved your light as long as it didn't expose their shadows. But now the light's gone. Now they're stuck in the dark, and they can't handle it. So they paint you as the villain to justify the hell they put you through. Let them twist the story, let them lie, 'cause the real ones, they'll see through it. They always do. And the ones who believe the lies, they were never on your side to begin with. You don't need to clear your name when your absence speaks louder than any defense. So stop trying to fix what was never real. Stop reopening wounds that only you were trying to heal. Stop rewriting the story in your head to make them look better than they were. They knew what they were doing. They just didn't think you'd wake up. But now you have. Now you're wide awake. And it's your turn to rewrite the ending. Not with revenge, not with noise, but with distance, with strength, with that villainous silence they thought you'd never learn. That version of you they feared, that's the one you become now. Not to hurt them, but to protect you. To never be broken like that again. To walk through the fire without flinching. You don't need their validation. You don't need their explanations. All you need is the truth. And the truth is this. They turned you into something stronger by trying to destroy you. And that's the real plot twist. You want to hear the sickest part about all this? Sometimes they never even plan to stay. Yeah, I said it. Some of them walked into your life already knowing they'd leave once they got what they wanted. That's the game. Use you, drain you, then disappear like you never existed. And the joke is that you welcomed them in with open arms. You let them see the softest parts of you. You let them walk through doors you don't even open for yourself. You gave them the keys, the comfort, the loyalty, the patience. And they left the moment your usefulness expired. Not when you messed up, not when you changed, but when they were done feeding off your kindness. It was always a one-way street. You just didn't see it because you were too busy loving blindly, too busy hoping they'd love you the same way you loved them. But loyalty, kid, loyalty don't work like that no more. We live in a time where being genuine is a weakness, and being fake is strategy. Where people fake emotions better than they fake smiles. Where love has a damn expiration date and loyalty's just a costume they wear until the mask falls off. You think they left because they were confused? Number. They left because they calculated. You were too real for a world full of masks. And the moment they realized they couldn't wear yours, they threw you away. And here's where you messed up. You thought love meant sacrifice. You thought loyalty meant staying even when it hurt. You thought being available, being consistent, being soft, that was how you'd earn respect. But respect doesn't come from giving. It comes from denying, from saying number, from setting boundaries so sharp they bleed before they cross them. But you gave without limits. You forgave without reason. You loved without expecting anything back. That's not weakness. Don't get it twisted. That's strength. But they didn't deserve that strength. And now you gotta give that same love to yourself. That same time, that same attention, that same damn loyalty. Flip it. Aim it at you. You've been building everyone else up while you've been falling apart in silence. But silence won't save you now. Silence only works when it's backed by action. So act. Cut 'em off. Move in silence. Let the ones who drained you feel the absence of your energy. They won't say it out loud, but trust me, they'll feel it. They'll feel the storm they caused now that you're no longer sheltering them from it. They'll feel the echo of your silence, like a scream in an empty room. And that's how you win. Not with revenge, not with hate, but with distance. So loud, it haunts them. You need to understand something real. Not everyone you lose is a loss. Some people are subtractions dressed like blessings. Some people were just lessons, harsh, painful, unforgettable lessons carved into your soul. And the lesson? Stop giving your all to people who treat you like a backup plan. Stop pouring into cups that would never even pass you a drop. Stop explaining your heart to people who only hear convenience. You ain't here to be understood by cowards. You ain't here to fix people who broke you. You're here to evolve, to rise, to become the version of you that doesn't tolerate disrespect just because he remembers the good times. Let the good times die with them. Bury the memories. Burn the bridge. If they were really meant for you, they wouldn't have made you feel like you were too much while they were giving you the bare minimum. And if they come back, let them find a stranger. Let them see the villain they created. Let them know, without saying a word, that you won't be the same fool twice. Loyalty is sacred, and if they played with it, they deserve to meet the version of you that doesn't play at all. You ever think about how many times you bit your tongue just to keep the peace? How many nights you stayed silent while your mind was screaming just so they wouldn't feel uncomfortable? That's what real ones do, right? You protect people even from the damage they cause. You keep their name clean even after they dragged yours through the dirt. You defend them in rooms they'd never defend you in. You carry their weight while they watch you crumble, arms crossed, like your pain was entertainment. That's loyalty. That's love. But you see what they did with it? They turned it into leverage. They made you feel like you were too much, too intense, too sensitive. Why you always overthink? They ask. like you didn't have every reason to. Like you weren't piecing together lies they dropped carelessly. Like your gut wasn't screaming while your heart begged for another chance. They flipped it, manipulated your empathy, played with your patience. And when they were done, when there was nothing left to take, they left you feeling like you were the problem. They broke you and walked away like you ruined everything. And worst of all, you believed it. For a while, you actually believed it. You sat in silence, wondering what you could have done better, what you missed, where you slipped up. But let me tell you something harsh and honest. You didn't fail them. They failed you. They failed the one person who would have never switched on them. And now that you've gone quiet, now they start checking your stories. Now they start liking your posts. Now they send that "Hey, stranger" text, hoping you forgot the storm they left you in. That's how it works. They test the water to see if the door's still cracked. And you better slam it shut. Lock it. Bolt it. Burn the damn hinges. 'Cause if you let them back in, they'll just wreck whatever healing you've managed to build. See? People like that don't change. They just learn how to hide their intentions better. They come back with sweeter words, with more convincing lies, with promises they'll never keep. And you'll want to believe them. Again. That's the curse of loyalty. It makes you want to save the ones who left you drowning. But not this time. This time, you remember who you are. You remember who you became when they left. You remember the nights you stared at the ceiling, wondering if anyone even cared. That's who you protect now. That broken version of you that kept surviving when no one showed up. That's who deserves your loyalty, not them. You ever notice how people act shocked when the version of you they created finally shows up? Like they didn't spend years molding you into a storm with their silence, their betrayal, their games. Like they didn't fuel every scar with every fake promise, every backhanded compliment, every empty apology. They don't get to act surprised. They don't get to play innocent when the villain they built finally stops smiling. You don't owe them your kindness. You don't owe them explanations. You don't owe them anything. What you owe is to yourself, to rise, to grow, to protect your peace like it's all you got left, because sometimes it is. You've been carrying people who wouldn't carry you across the street. You've been fighting battles in silence just so they wouldn't feel guilt. And what did that get you? Sleepless nights? Doubt? Loneliness? Nah, not anymore. Now you move like a shadow. Now you speak less. Watch more. Now you become what they feared from the beginning. A version of you that no longer bends, that no longer breaks, that no longer chases. You know what's really messed up? They didn't just hurt you. They studied you first. They watched the way your eyes lit up when you talked about loyalty. They listened when you told them what your fears were, what your triggers were, what your pain looked like. And then they used it. Like it was ammunition, like it was strategy, like you were just another level in their twisted game. They fed you hope like it was medicine, kept you just strong enough to keep giving, but weak enough to keep needing them. That's not just betrayal, that's cruelty. And what makes it worse? They'll still go around acting like the victim, telling people you changed, saying you flipped on them, leaving out every detail that proves they stabbed first. But the worst thing they ever did wasn't walking away. It was making you question yourself, making you feel like your standards were too high, your love was too heavy, your presence was too intense. Nah, kid. That wasn't the problem. The problem was they weren't built to handle someone real. That's the truth. Real love requires accountability. Real loyalty requires consistency. And they were allergic to both. So instead of rising to meet you, they shrunk themselves and blamed you for it. And now they want to act like you're the villain? Fine. Be it. Embrace it. Wear it like armor. Because villains, at least, are honest. Villains don't pretend to be saints while dragging others through hell. Villains don't fake love just to get what they want. Villains don't smile in your face while plotting your fall. They stand bold. They say what they mean. And when they cut ties, they don't leave questions behind. That's what you are now, a villain in their story. But you're also the hero in your own, the one who finally chose himself, the one who finally said, no more. You don't need to be liked. You don't need to be understood. What you need is to be respected. And respect don't come from being the good guy all the time. It comes from boundaries, from silence, from power. And they feared your power the moment they realized they couldn't manipulate it anymore. That's when they started changing. That's when they started backing away, because your eyes saw too much. Your silence spoke too loud. And your presence, it made them feel exposed, like mirrors do to liars. So they ran, or worse, they attacked. That's how it always plays out. The ones who can't match your heart will try to kill your spirit. Let them. Let them run. Let them lie. Let them throw dirt. You're done explaining. You're done defending. You're done begging people to treat you like a human being. From here on out, you walk alone if you have to. You speak less. You watch more. And you move in ways they can't predict. This ain't about revenge. This ain't about making them feel what you felt. This is about finally becoming what they were too afraid you'd realize you always were. Strong, unshakable, and untouchable. You ain't the fool in this story. You're the fire they thought they could contain. And now that you're burning through every fake tie, every empty promise, every shallow smile, they're left standing in ashes wondering how you became so dangerous. But the truth is, you were always this. You just kept it buried under love, under patience, under faith, but they dug it out. They summoned the storm, and now they get to live in it while you rise through it. And you know what the real punchline is? They didn't think you'd last without them. That's the twisted joke. They genuinely believed that once they left, you'd fall apart and never get back up. They saw your heart, your loyalty, your softness, and they mistook all of it for weakness. That's the problem with people like them. They measure strength by silence, not by survival. They thought the pain would break you. They thought you'd beg, chase, crawl. But you didn't. You died in that silence, yeah. But you were reborn in it too. Stronger, colder, smarter. You started seeing everything for what it really was. You realized who stood by you and who stood on you. You realized that being alone was never the worst part. The worst part was being surrounded by people who made you feel more alone than silence ever could. And once that clicks, once you stop seeing your loneliness as punishment and start treating it as protection, that's when the shift happens. That's when you stop being a victim and start being a weapon, a quiet one, the kind that don't need to prove a damn thing to anyone anymore. They wanted you broken. They got you built. See, when you remove your emotions from the equation, things become terrifyingly clear. You start seeing patterns. You start recognizing the cycles. The same people who say they love you will hurt you, then blame you for bleeding. The same people who preach loyalty are the ones who vanish the moment loyalty requires sacrifice. They love to say, "I'm always here for you," until it's actually time to be there. Then it's radio silence, missed calls, excuses wrapped in sweet words. And you ate that up for so long, gave benefit of the doubt, gave second, third, 15th chances. Why? 'Cause you believed in people more than they believed in themselves. But you know what that gets you in this world? Used, replaced, forgotten. And that's why you needed this pain. Yeah, I said it. You needed this. You needed to be broken by the ones you trusted most, so you could stop playing savior and start being your own soldier. The kind that don't flinch when silence gets loud. The kind that don't need closure to move forward. The kind that doesn't beg to be chosen anymore. You walk, head high, eyes sharp, no apologies. Let them feel your absence like a drought. Let them talk. Let them twist the truth to feel better about themselves. It don't matter. You've outgrown needing to be understood. You've outgrown trying to fix things with people who break you and then blame you for the cracks. What matters now is peace. Real peace. The kind that doesn't come with terms and conditions. The kind that comes when you finally choose you. They'll come back, sure. They always do. But not for the right reasons. They'll come back when their new supply runs dry. When the world treats them like they treated you. When karma spins the block with receipts. But you'll be different now. You won't open that door again. You won't let them back into a heart they couldn't protect the first time. Because now, you're the villain, remember? And villains don't save people who burned them alive. Villains don't look back. Villains build empires from the ashes they were left in. That's your story now. No longer begging to be understood. No longer explaining your worth. No longer offering parts of yourself to people who didn't even value the whole. You're done bleeding for cowards. Now you stand. Alone, maybe, but powerful, dangerous, free ... You know what the real win is? Not revenge, not clapping back, not exposing them or throwing dirt like they did you. Nah. The real win is when you go silent, and they realize that your silence is not weakness. It's a death sentence. It's the final nail in the coffin of the version of you they once controlled. When you go ghost, when you vanish without screaming, when you stop reacting, that's when the fear hits. That's when they sit in rooms full of noise and still hear your silence. 'Cause silence from someone who once loved loud, that's the loudest scream of all. And they know what it means. It means they lost something they'll never get back. Not because you became bitter, but because you finally became aware of how they drained you, how they never showed up, how they only came around when it benefited them. That awareness, that's your power now. They had your mind for a while. They made you doubt yourself. They made you think being kind was foolish, being patient was weak, being loyal was naive. But now you see it clear. Loyalty isn't the problem. They were. Loyalty ain't a curse. They just weren't worthy of it. So now you move like smoke, ungrabbable, unpredictable, untouchable. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop waiting for people to apologize who sleep just fine after hurting you. You stop bleeding where you're not even seen. You rebuild quietly, not for revenge, not to prove anything, but because you finally understand that peace costs too much to hand over to fake friends and temporary people. And this new you? He ain't cruel. He's calculated. He doesn't shout. He doesn't chase. He watches. He listens. He learns. And when he moves, it's final. That's what scares them now. That version of you who doesn't need their validation. That version of you who doesn't care if they like you, miss you, talk about you. They lost their power the moment you stopped responding. The moment you stopped reacting to their crumbs like it was a feast. And now they're left looking at a version of you they don't recognize. Good. That's the point. You were never supposed to stay soft for people who made a hobby out of hardening your heart. You see, they never loved you. They loved access to you. Big difference. They loved what you did for them, how you made them feel, how you showed up even when they gave you every reason not to. But when you needed them, silence, ghosted, gone. That's when you learn the truth. That's when you realize most people don't see you, they see your usefulness. They don't love you, they love the benefit of having you close. And when that benefit dries up, so do they. And you sit there, left with questions, wondering if you were too much, if you expected too much, if you asked for too much. But no, kid, you didn't ask for too much. You just asked the wrong damn people. People who didn't even deserve to hear your voice, let alone be loved by your soul. So now you don't lower your standards. Now you don't dim your light. Now you don't play small to make people comfortable. You stand tall. You walk away. You protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. And anyone who gets near it, they better come correct, or not at all. Let them keep talking. Let them rewrite the story to protect their ego. You ain't in the business of defending your name anymore. You are the name. And that name, it carries scars, silence, and strength that none of them could handle. That's why they left. Not because you were too much, but because they were too little. And now the villain they created walks with purpose, with power, with no leash, no fear, no apology. You don't owe anyone the old version of you ever again, of